Truthful Tuesday. My name is Rich Clark. I've been a hypnotherapist for the last 8 years, and I've been a holistic therapist for the last 14 years. This week, I'm going to be talking about a couple of subjects. I'm going to be talking about relationships, talking about marriage, divorce, and this one is going to be a bit of an interesting one because I'm going to be interviewing someone from India about arranged marriage, and we're going to be talking about these ideas of this and what the actual historical implications are, how it works, also how does it work in the 21st century, whether it's applicable, does it work? So this is my friend Krishna from India. When I lived in India for 5 years.
Hi. This is hi in Indian.
Yeah.
Hi. Should I? Oh no, it's fine. This is fine.
So Krishna, explain your actual background, caste background, because I think that's important to explain that about the arranged marriage, and then explain.
Yeah, I'm Tamil, which is like south of India, like the really south, like south. Um, South of India. I'm Tamil, and my caste is something called Chettiar. Chettiar is we call the accountants for kings kind of thing, and like we are the people who take care of money. So it's I wouldn't say it's a lower caste. It's like no other way to say it, but it's like a general category of a caste, but very orthodox South Indian family, I would say, and like very Hindu, unbelievably Hindu. Like go to every temple until you die, kind of Hindu. You know what I mean? So yeah, that is my caste, and I think like all the four states in the south are like different versions of this. Hindu specifically, like Hindu, then there are like three castes. In Tamil, it's like multiple. If you go to Kerala, it's like Nair, Pillai, all that stuff. And each state has a Brahmin,
Yeah.
which is like the highest caste. I'm not Brahmin, but yeah. But so yeah, and we can put it that way. In short, we can just say it's like a very old. How will I say? Uh, like our ancestry is about what 900 years old, close to 1,000. We can trace back to 1,000 years.
Yeah. And
Like
then,
in paper, yeah,
and then also with Tamil, the language as well, because I mean, Tamil language is one of the oldest languages in the world. So
yeah. I mean, they're very proud of that. I'm like, like we
uh,
are,
so
but yeah.
so with obviously with the just not the cast, but also your background. So, for example, as in your family, the idea is
Mm.
the idea would be your father and your mother would like you to have an arranged marriage or marry someone within. Is it within the caste, or is it in something they pick, or how does it work? Explain it.
No, it is within the caste, as in like our caste is like to give you context. I think it is kind of similar to every other caste. Our caste, to within context, we were sea dwelling people, but there was like a huge tsunami like 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So all of them thought of coming in like inland into Tamil Nadu, and like our entire caste is like pretty much the exact center, like in the middle of Tamil Nadu.
Okay. So you're actually in the middle of Tamil Nadu. Is actually your.
Yeah, it's like our city is called Karaikudi, and if you heard, it's like a huge city, and our and
I,
every
I,
other
did, I went round a lot of Tamil Nadu because remember I told you I
yeah
went to the Nadi Astrology Temple,
yeah
Madurai, and all that. So I did a lot of
yeah
Tamil.
in and around. So
I met you
yeah
in Pondicherry as well. So I mean that was
yeah
we were
yeah. It's like so. This city is called Karaikudi, and all the like 130 or 150 villages now they be towns, right? Like now current generation they all be towns, so in and around the city, and it's all our people. So each of them are like coming from different family from that 1,000 years ago. So they all have their heritage,
yeah
and how marriage works in our community is like for them like doesn't uh it's very Game of Thrones if I could say, without the death and murder. You know what I mean? Like it's like how much money they have. It's all about status games.
yeah
Like this, if we connect from this family to that family, my daughter would be better, and like this guy has a better job. It's the same thing, and they'll try to make sure to keep it within the family, so our people's how will I say uh, uh, the the generations can be like the tree of our
Yeah.
uh, body. They can be extended basically. So they want to keep it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And but they're not worried about the chromosome thing. But nobody knows if it's an exact thing. Like,
Okay.
are we all like they are all different? But in my head, I kind of feel like at some point in time, you all end up marrying your own people.
Right. So, because
That is very freaky to me.
a lot of people don't understand this. Like in Indian culture, they say about arranged marriage in Africa and so forth. But actually, do you know in England, until before the Victorian times, most people actually married within the same community. So it actually was quite common. So, for example, when you ever hear an English name, say you hear a name of Jackson, Johnson, something like that, the only
Right.
reason it happened as surnames was because actually most people were called years ago. This is medieval times. It would be like
Yeah.
John the farmer, John the butcher, and then what it
Yeah.
was John's son, and then that became the surname. So then it was John Johnson, John Jackson. That
Oh.
that's how it worked in England. So in the same way, arranged marriages were actually from the working class of working areas within certain areas. And then also it's in also the royal families. So the idea of royal families were also linked to blood lineage. So from my own
Yeah.
this is going to be quite an interesting for you to understand. So in my family, most people were always married in the same area. So for example, I could look at some people in my family. I know like the rough place I'm going to know they're going to live in this town, and their parents will live in this town, and their parents will live in this town. It's quite common. And then the only reason people moved was for work. So for example, like my grandfather, he moved from Newcastle because he was bombed out in the Second World War and moved to London. So then he,
Right.
my grandmother, in London. So that's why that would have happened. But otherwise, like this, he would have married someone in Newcastle. Now it's not the same caste, whatever it is, but it's people generally didn't move around a lot because they didn't have the means for transport. You've got to remember,
Hmm.
cars really were around by like 1920, 1930, 30,
Right.
actually when Henry Ford invented the car. So most people, if they actually had to go anywhere, it was a horse and cart, and that was dangerous because most people got robbed on a highway or whatever that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most people did marry in the communities. Like you will find a lot of Irish people. They go, "Oh, you've got this surname." Oh, and they find out like that cousin's their third, fourth cousin, right? Because of the surname. And it's
Right.
and actually in Ireland, certain names come from certain places. So it's very much it was in English culture. So when people think, "Oh, it only happens in like Asia or Africa," it doesn't. Or South America. It's actually very much common in our culture. But the thing is, what's happening now is because
Yeah.
we're more global and becoming more national at the same time, we
Yeah.
people. So, for example, if I dated someone, I've
Hmm.
now found out through my DNA that because my great grandmother was adopted from Tamil Nadu, I've now
Hmm.
actually found I've got four, five, fifth cousins who are Tamil who actually live in England, and they
Oh
are
wow.
genetically linked to me because of my great grandmother. So it's like it's very strange how that can happen. But it's also the other issue what we have in England, especially with a lot of people. Some people have parents, like a father, they've had a child with their mother. Then they've gone over with another mother and had another mother. And then what they find out is some of them end up they dating someone. They found out they're dating their cousin or their actual stepsister or their stepbrother. They don't realise this. It's only that
Yeah.
and this is what happens. So it's not as uncommon in British or English or European culture as people think.
Yeah. I
And
think it happens. Sorry, continue. I think it happens most countries. I think even Spain has a bit of arranged marriage. I heard like
yes, Spain does. It does, and
Spain
France. In fact,
does.
French had
And
some really weird things that they could actually. A French man could, until 4 years ago, could marry a 14-year-old girl as young as that. I mean, it was
really, I
yeah,
didn't.
yeah. It
French
was
has arranged marriage. I thought French were like the other way.
well, they also had all the kings had their mistresses as well. I mean,
Oh yeah.
the British kings did as well. That's why some people, when they do their DNA, they find out they're related to Henry VIII because Henry VIII not only had his wife, but the wife's sister. He also was knocking
Was
it
French.
out. That was
Yeah.
his history. So they would have a child. So that's why the DNA would be the same. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but with yourself, and I want to ask this, and it's personal, but for
Yeah.
yourself. as well, your father or your mother, probably it's your father. Obviously, he's obviously has he picked out people for you to be married, or because obviously you
Yeah,
never
yeah. It's pretty common. It's very normal.
and
It's
because you never meet them beforehand, do you? It's literally you'd only meet them at the wedding. Is that how it's done, or
no, 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 no. I mean, that's like no. It's more like it's like Tinder, but with people through people. Like it's like bump dating app, but you don't put it online. But
yeah,
now you do, but like Shadi.com and stuff like that. But instead of you swiping, your parents will swipe other parents. That's like you don't meet the woman, you will meet the wealth or the family name or how good they are.
yeah,
Yeah, in a way, like I'll bring you why this context. Like I don't blame them either. Like it's not my choice. Like there are many people like me, it's not my choice, but I understand where they're coming from to be
right,
empathetic. Like for me, like how like Tamil, us South Indians in general, how we think is like it's the parents' duty. Like they won't say it's a choice, it's their duty
right.
to get their children married.
Because
You know what I mean?
when I was at my
Like for them,
school,
it's unfinished.
when
They
I was at
can't die.
yeah, when I
Yeah,
was at school, there was a teacher called Upendra, and he actually married someone called Lakshmi, who was actually from the
yeah,
same place in Chittor, the same village, and they arranged that marriage, and they actually met as teachers at the school, and then actually got.
right.
And I went to their wedding. The trouble is, when I went to their wedding, I didn't know what a traditional Hindu wedding was, so I turned up looking like Bollywood bloody star with all like the big
All the shirts and garlands. Yeah,
and they're all wearing dutties and dirty, and all that stuff. And I
yeah.
looked quite
Mundur.
crap. I mean, I think the only person who was more dressed than me was the groom and the bride. I looked like a right idiot.
Man, how dare you take over their night or their
And then it was like the idea was they were all getting all these different marriages were going on in this hall, and I was just thinking, hey, there's like 7, 8 marriages, and it was like they did it at certain times. So it was at the Ganesha temple, and it was
yeah,
3:32 in the morning, and
yeah,
it's just like
yeah.
I thought,
Three to
wow.
five.
And
Yeah,
from a Westerner's point of view, like we'd think, who's going to get married at 3 o'clock in the morning? But it's actually aligned. They align it. They align the exact day. Why to their
yeah,
family,
yeah.
numerology. It's really quite interesting. And then there was a dowry, so someone made something for them, so it's a dowry. It's
Uh,
I think from a Western point of view, because I know I went to the wedding and people were saying, like, why would you want to come to this wedding? I was like, it's it's different. We don't have this. They couldn't even comprehend like why I was interested. They
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
was so culturally different. And then about 2 weeks later, I went to a big like Bollywood style wedding in Mumbai, where it's just
Completely different.
the whole shebang. It feels like a Bollywood film, and the whole everybody's dancing with sticks and everything. And this other one was just like traditional.
Yeah,
There you are, you're married. Put a bit of paint on your head. It was like it was
yeah.
a bit
Was it a
different.
5 day wedding? Is like just finished in one day. You got the crash course.
No, it was in
It
the
is.
midweek. I think it was like Tuesday or Wednesday. It was in like midweek, and it was
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
We finished, then we had to get a taxi.
Generally, it's 3 to 5 days.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
whole thing.
yeah. This one was just like I think it was just the ceremony, like the wedding,
Yeah,
and then they'd all made food for us, so we all ate the food. Then we all got a taxi back.
yeah,
It's kind of crazy because we were trying to find the place because like I kept saying, "Where's the wedding?" And like the English other guy who was teaching with me was like, "We're going right. Where are they?" And we're trying to find them. And this Ganesha temple, like, it's not a traditional temple. It's like it's just in the middle of nowhere, really. And it's like big Ganesha, big water thing. And we're like, where
yeah,
is this place? And there's all these different halls. So we're going, when is this wedding? When is it happening? And then next minute, we had a kit from about 11 o'clock. So we just had eaten and we needed some sleep. Next minute, they're saying, oh, they're starting. It's like 3:25, and they phoned us like at 3:10. And I'm like, oh Jesus, we're all having to get dressed and like come
yeah.
down the road and all
Where
that.
was this? Like it's like rural Tamil Nadu.
This was in Chittor. It was like rural.
Oh, Chittor. It's like Andhra, but border of Tam.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. Pretty much the same.
Really rural. I mean, like the guy
Yeah,
at Upendra's family had like a farm. I went down there once, and I learned how to
yeah,
milk cows and stuff. It was crazy. Totally like
yeah,
different world. But it's like I remember asking him. I was like saying to him, Lakshmi, but obviously, how does it work? How did you meet? And he explained it all to me. So I only understood it from his perspective. But from your perspective, and this is another thing as well, with
right.
dating, obviously, though your father wants you to get married to an arranged marriage, have you? dated outside of that? I would gather you have. And then what is like your preference? Because that's also must be quite interesting of how that works.
I don't know, man. I never always seen it. It's my personal perspective. I've always seen these marriages, like people say, like from outside, like do arranged marriage. It always lasts for a long time. It's like grass is greener because they think like finding your own person doesn't work. Pros and cons, both are kind of true, agreeable. But from where I've seen, uh, bearing to my pair, like not comparing to my parents' generation, because all of them had that choice. Like it's everyone, so it had to work out for them.
Yeah.
But now, yeah, these things I've seen more arranged marriages fail than it last.
Mm.
Like it's just you just don't know the person like that. There are, I don't want to say, like there are cousins of mine who ended up marrying complete psychos, like straight up with like real mental
But
issues.
that's the thing, isn't it? I suppose if you're, if you're only meeting or dating and then you marry someone,
Yeah, yeah.
at least
Real mental issues.
if
And no, this I have to say it out loud. Is one thing I have to say is like when I said it's Game of Thrones, this is what I meant. Like the families would agree to it, and the family would mask whatever problems they have with their son or daughter.
yeah,
They won't tell until, because they'll just get married off. Once they are married off, it's not their problem.
right.
You know what I mean? The other family has to deal with it.
So I suppose
So that kind of freaked me out. I've seen that throughout my life, like for the last 10, like 7 to 10 years, even before that. And I'm like, this is very weird. Like, I don't want to be a part of, I don't want to deceive people into,
no,
or I don't want to be a part of this. Like, that freaked me out. I mean, I know it's like a 70-30, but 70 is a lot.
yeah,
All right. I know it's like my sister got lucky, great. And there are people who got lucky, great. Like, they got great people, but my sister was smart. Like they arranged it. She spoke to her for at least 2 years, got to know him, and then she agreed. So
yeah.
like,
I suppose then that's a bit better, isn't it? Because at least then she would then work whether that works or not. I mean,
yeah,
I
yeah,
think what people's perception of an arranged marriage is like, you never meet the person, you come to
yeah,
the wedding day, and then next minute
yeah,
you veil the bride, and she looks like back of a cow's ass or something like that.
yeah.
So,
Closer.
like,
Yeah,
not being misogynistic, but you
yeah,
don't know what you're getting, and then
yeah,
they've got a voice like Minnie Mouse, or just things which would irritate you in certain ways,
yeah,
vice
yeah.
versa.
Yeah.
But I think,
The underlying theme is like currently, like not currently, I would say the last 25. If you're agreeing to an arranged marriage, that means you're a failure.
oh wow,
Like in terms, like in my generation, like you're a failure in becoming, like you agreed to something you didn't want to, like you being forced to just because you don't have other options, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like
I
I've
think
seen people do that as well. They get heartbroken like once or twice, and they just give up completely, and they'll just agree to marry someone who their parents gave for them, and it looks like a choice, but it not. It's just like they don't want to go through that pain again.
yeah, I get that. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
Which is I'm not judging them, but which
no,
is
no,
fair.
no, you're being honest.
Yeah,
That's why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because I think what it is that
yeah,
from a Western point of view, we do have a sort of a judgment on arranged marriage, and I think we shouldn't,
yeah.
because
You shouldn't.
it's a culturally different thing. We don't always
Yeah,